everyone, and welcome back to our top 10 series where I give you super cool, awesome top 10 lists. I'm Court McGinley. So if my shirt is any indication, today we have a frightening list coming your way. This is the list of the top 10 scariest horror movies you shouldn't watch alone, part 2. That's right, you guys loved part 1 so much, so we figured it's October. This month everyone is all about horror movies, so let's give you guys a part 2. Now, as mentioned in the first one, I'm well aware everyone has a different opinion when it comes to horror movies. What you might find scary, others might not. It all depends on what scares you. So today I've compiled a list of horror movies that are ranked at the top of the horror movie list. But before we get started, I want to know, when it comes to horror movies, what scares you the most? Maybe it's killer dolls, clowns, creepy kids, serial killers, or if you're like me, you're just not about killers in masks. Nope, I cannot do it. Let me know your answer down in the comments. Alright, let's get this scare fest started. Coming here at number 10 spot, Child's Play. This movie is a little bit of an older one, as it came out in 1988. And if killer dolls freak you out, then you might not want to watch this movie. In this movie, a single mother gives her son an extremely popular toy for his birthday. She gives him a good guy doll. But as we soon discover, this doll has actually been possessed by the soul of a serial killer. Fun. This is definitely not a movie you should watch alone. And at number 9, Jeepers Creepers. And I have a very vivid memory when it comes to this movie. My best friend and I were at the video store and we were gonna rent a movie. I know some of you are like, video store? Rent a movie? Yes, back in the day these things existed and it was great. So anyways, she decided to rent Jeepers Creepers. Little did we know how creepy this movie actually was. The creature they use in this movie is so terrifying. Okay, so the storyline goes like this. A brother and sister are on their way home from spring break when they notice a mysterious person dumping something down a sketchy random tube. Of course, being curious, they go to check it out. They soon discover something very disturbing. If you go down the tube, you discover this lair. It's basically an underground hideout, and all of this flesh is sewn together and it's covering all of the walls. Yeah, human bodies just skinned alive, flattened, and sewn up on the walls. The two quickly go to try to get help, but then they notice someone is following them. And they soon realize it's the same man who is throwing a body down the tube. We soon learn more about this mystery man, and it's even more terrifying than you could possibly imagine. And at number 8, Nightmare on Elm Street. This movie came out in 1984 and it takes place on Elm Street. A group of teens are being terrorized by a quad killer named Freddy Krueger, and the way he gets to them is through their dreams. Soon enough, Freddy begins to kill off his victims one by one. The people who he attempts to kill are only saved if they wake up before he kills them in their dream. So throughout the movie, the survivors of the attacks are trying to find out the reason for why they are being chosen. This is an extremely creepy concept because once Freddy has you when you're sleeping, then there's no one there to save you. Yeah, this definitely is a movie that will keep you up all night. For one thing, it's really scary, and then there's the whole Freddy will kill you if you fall asleep thing. And at number 7, Rosemary's Baby. This movie was released in 1968. This movie is the most dated one on this list, and unless you're really into horror movies, then you probably haven't seen this one. It's even before my time. That's how old it is. Basically, a young couple move into an apartment. The woman, Rosemary, soon begins to experience unpleasant and odd things happening to her. Her husband, Guy, becomes enchanted with the weird neighbors. Guy then makes a deal with the devil that promises to make him successful in his career as an actor. Rosemary then becomes pregnant after a nightmare in which she has a horrible creature making love to her. One of these weird neighbors is continuously giving Rosemary some sort of concoction for the pregnancy. She soon realizes that the neighbors have special plans for her child. This movie is based off a popular best-selling horror novel by Ira Levine, which was published just a year before in 1967. Up next at number 6, The Ring. This movie had so much hype when it was released in theaters in 2002. Everyone was talking about it. I remember really wanting to see it in theaters, but I wasn't old enough. So months later for my birthday, I had my friends sleep over and my parents rented the movie for us. But oh my god, was that ever a mistake. We were so creeped out that we didn't sleep for the entire night. In the movie, there's a journalist investigating a videotape that possibly killed 4 teenagers, one of which was her niece. We learn that there is an urban legend about this tape. Apparently once you watch it, you die within 7 days. So now that the journalist has watched it, she has to rush against time to save her life. And along the way, she finds out some pretty creepy, messed up family secrets. There's also going to be a remake of The Ring coming out to theaters this October. Coming out at number 5 spot, The Blair Witch Project. Now this movie has a pretty crazy background. So basically the development for this movie started in 1993. The two filmmakers, Eduardo and Daniel, wrote a 35-page outline of the story, where the dialogue would be improvised. Filming lasted 8 days and began in 1997. Throughout the film, we follow the disappearance of 3 student filmmakers in the woods near Burkittsville, Maryland. While they are also shooting a documentary on the local legend known as the Blair Witch. This whole movie is filmed using a handheld camera, and it's very terrifying. This movie was first entered into the Sundance Film Festival in 1999. The film was a huge success, and a few months later it was put into cinemas. There was a second movie which came out in 2000, and a third movie that is actually out this month. And at number 4, Dead Silence. This movie came out in 2007, and if you're not a fan of ventriloquist dolls, then don't watch this movie because they are just everywhere. This movie is a supernatural psychological horror film. This movie takes place in a town called Raven's Fair. It tells the story of a widower who returned to his hometown to investigate the cause of his wife's murder after he was sent a doll named Billy. It's believed that this town is cursed by a popular ventriloquist named Mary Shaw. During her popularity, she was accused of murdering a little boy, and so she was captured and executed by the townspeople. Not only did they kill her, but they also cut out her tongue and then buried her with her homemade collection of ventriloquist dolls. She referred to these dolls as her children. So some years go by, and these dolls have begun to disappear from Mary's grave, and they haunt the townspeople. I saw this once in theaters, and now all the reasons why I never watched it again are flooding back. The way they make Mary Shaw look is terrifying, and the old folks' tale is no better. And at number 3, The Purge. Oh my god, The Purge! Everyone is scared of a certain something when it comes to horror movies. My thing, it happens to be masks. I hate them. And in this movie, there's masks everywhere. This movie came out in 2013, so it's fairly recent. So basically, for one night each year, any crime, including murder, is legal, and all emergency services are suspended for 12 hours. So that means if you're injured, there are no police or ambulances that can help you. The thought that something like this is actually possible is terrifying, but this movie was extremely popular. The week it opened, it topped the box office with $16.8 million on opening day, and $34.1 million throughout the opening weekend. Then there were 2 sequels, The Purge Anarchy and The Purge Election Year, and both of those are just as scary as the first one. Coming in at number 2 spot, Insidious. This movie came out in 2010, and it has one of the creepiest trailers I have ever seen. This is the gripping story of a family in search of help for their son Dalton, who fell into a coma after a mysterious incident in the attic. Soon, a ghost wants to take over his body as a vessel. Little does the family know that there is much more to this endless sleep than meets the eye. They explore the paranormal and rediscover the past, which is the key to getting their son back once and for all. And in at number 1, The Grudge. This movie was actually a remake of a Japanese horror movie, which is scarier than the American version. This movie came out in October 2004. In this movie, Karen Davis, who is played by Sarah Michelle Gellar, is an American nurse who moves to Tokyo. She is temporarily assigned to be a caretaker for a woman who has severe sleeping disorder. Once Karen arrives to the house, she is shocked to find out that it is plagued by the presence of a murderous ghost. And the reason this ghost is here is due to a curse that's been placed on the house. And this curse will consume anyone who enters the home. This movie did extremely well at the box office. Its total budget was $10 million, but they ended up earning $187 million. So that's extremely impressive. Yeah, I'd say this one deserves to be on our number 1 spot for that point alone. And there were also 2 sequels that came from The Grudge, The Grudge 2 and The Grudge 3. Then when The Grudge was being sold on DVDs, it made sales of